Hello everyone, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. This video is gonna be interesting. If you guys haven't already seen my Korean vlog, I really encourage you guys to go check that out. It's like a 20-minute long vlog and it just shows me literally suffering throughout the Korean process, and I've honestly never been so real on YouTube, so if you want to see me cry, go watch that video. But I realized that that last clip in that vlog didn't explain my sort of decision to let go of Project Ghost, which was the book I've been querying for 3 months now. It was definitely a hard decision, and one that is definitely backed up by a lot of different reasons, and I'm going to be talking through those reasons today and just kind of chatting about the process, how I felt, and just more of a sort of objective view. I'm kind of definitely still in that sort of process of recovery. Literally, if you ask any sort of writer how querying is, it is definitely such a hard process and it's just so difficult every single stage, and I don't think you really expect it, but you need to experience it to understand, and I'm so glad that I did, and at least I have that if nothing else from the experience of querying. I do want to preface that the sun is going down, so the sort of lighting may definitely change really frequently, but I'm not going to have this video too long, so hopefully that won't be a big deal. However, let's get into it. So as soon as I uploaded my Korean vlog, I lapsed into this huge panic attack and kind of cried a little bit, and I actually did a huge sort of spiel on my notes app. And if you guys know, writers love their notes app, and I came up with like different reasons of why I should feel encouraged and why I've decided to make this decision to give up on my book. Number one, I was really experienced going into the querying process. It was embarrassing. Some of the amazing comments that I got were very professional, and these experienced people definitely, like, I thank you so much for your advice, but it made me feel so stupid when people are just like, yeah, you don't query novellas. Like, that's not a thing. No one really accepts novellas, and I'm kind of like, oh. And although I definitely got some rejections not based off novellas, and they were looking at my work and my actual book, and it had nothing to do with the length of my novel, that was still something that I felt so embarrassed. And it was really embarrassing, the fact that it's kind of like a given and I should have known. It's basically impossible. I've kind of looked into it now and it's literally so difficult. Like, some published authors can't even get their novellas published because of their length. So that was extremely discouraging and embarrassing, so that kind of deterred me from wanting to query this book continually, and I just kind of felt like I was fighting a losing battle. And I definitely did lapse into this huge thing about the fact that my book is a novella and how it is, yes, a stylistic choice, but I kept thinking, like, does that mean I have no ideas? Does that mean my book isn't good enough to have more substance? My story is still a story, and Project Ghost is such a special part of me, so the fact that it's a novella is extremely important to my story because it's the whole point of the book. It shows how the character Red goes through this experience with these 4 other ghost boys and how it stops before her life really begins, and that's just a reflection upon the message of the story. So the length is not convenient. Like, it's not a convenient thing that I just happen to do. Like, it's for a purpose, and I think because of that it doesn't feel very productive for me to continue querying, especially in that state that I left you guys in my other vlog. Number 2, querying took more out of me than I thought. It honestly makes me feel upset every single time I think about young Anna, like 3 months ago, being so excited for this process and just seeing it deteriorate and see myself deteriorate and my writing deteriorate. I think definitely Project Orchestra, if you've been actually upkeeping with my videos and the projects I've been working on, Project Orchestra definitely did help me get through that, and it tethered me a little bit. But since finishing that project, I've not been writing at all because I've been so detached from my writing because of this querying process and that lack of, I don't know, anything from my queries coming back to me, and that sort of silence. It just really said so much to my soul that I didn't know. It took a lot out of me, basically. And I think because of that, the whole time I should have really been working on my craft, working on my books, not kind of just like hoping and wasting time, you know, being sad I should have just been a lot more productive, a lot more intentional with my writing, instead of betting all of this on this one little book, which, although I didn't expect much, and that's why that's like the whole random thing, is I didn't expect anything from querying, but I think as soon as you start it, you have that hope. It's kind of like starting a race. Like, you know you're not going to win the race, but as soon as you stand up to that, you know, start line, you're kind of like, I can win this. Like, is possible. It is like physically possible. But I think even that 1% of this random agent wanting to somehow, take my book because it's a novella, like that just seemed so unproductive to me. So because of that, I don't want to query my book anymore. The third reason kind of reflects this, and it's the fact that I asked myself like really seriously at the end of this process why I wanted to pursue traditional publishing specifically instead of indie publishing. I kind of found at the end of it, it was simply just to prove myself to my parents, to the world, to myself, that all the hours I've been spending into my books, into this dream, can work, and can work in a corporate setting, can work in a marketable setting, can work in a officially you have a title, you have published with this publishing house, you have these books in these bookstores and they're popular. And I just thought that was my measure of success. And of course, I definitely firmly believe indie authors, self-published authors are authors and they are writers as their career. It's amazing, and I honestly have so much respect for self-published authors. But for me and my little tiny weeny Anna brain that doesn't know a lot, I kind of thought that pursuing self-publishing first kind of would concede me in a way to kind of giving up on my dream of being a formal author and kind of just moving to that space of writing becoming a hobby. And I think that maybe if I made it lucky, if I made it young, 19 years old, got a book deal, I could show my parents, I can show my uni degree, I can show myself that, hey, like this is still possible as a career, not just as a hobby. I thought that traditional publishing would make that happen. And that's why, of course, I did not think about self-publishing really at all. I also realized that a part of traditional publishing is the fact that marketing is really important. So a lot of writers who don't have a platform can't really self-publish, or it's a lot harder to have that marketing aspect. But I seem to have a really nice channel, but I think I've always downplayed my success as an author tuber or as a, I'm not really popular on Instagram, but you know what I mean. I just always thought traditional publishing was the best way, when sometimes it's not. And of course it's the harder way, and I wanted it to be a challenge for myself in that respect, but it really killed me. And I think especially for my book Project Ghost, querying it traditionally might not work, and it hasn't, at least. And I know it's like only been 3 months, but for my sanity, it's really important. So it's not saying that I won't traditional publish any books or pursue querying again. I think I definitely want to try querying my other fantasy books and write fantasy as my main writing career, if that makes sense, and more so self-publish the books that are more novellas, more short stories, more collections of my poetry, for example, which would be so fun. But again, not to say that I will traditional publish or get successful in that respect. It's so hard. It's so hard. Number 4, I realize now that the types of books I write will not be popular in today's age. And this was really difficult for me to swallow. I think I've realized that Project Ghost is such a specific genre. I've never really read anything close to this sort of book. It is a novella, so it's different automatically. And the fact that the sort of story it's not the traditional like hero's journey. It has to do with mental health. It has to do with these really deep themes. There's like self-harm in the book. It's just teenagers doing dumb stuff, and it's literally my favorite book. Like, this book is literally the book that I would love to read, and that gave me hope that maybe people would love to read it too. And it's not to say that you watching wouldn't want to read my book, because I get so many comments that are so kind saying that I would love to read your book. And thank you so much for all the comments also on my vlog. I love you so much. However, yeah, so I think the fact that this particular book is definitely harder marketable, and especially as a debut novel, I don't think this is the right fit. I think Project BB or Project CZ as fantasy books will be definitely easier, since fantasy is such a big established genre and a lot of readers, you know, read sort of similar stuff. So that is something I maybe will pursue in the future. So again, I'm not giving up on querying or any of my books. I'm just giving up on Project Ghost. And I kind of went off on my notes app. I was talking about sin, I was talking about the world and how the world's going, and how I kind of just felt frustrated in a way that my book, not to say that any other book is not meaning to say anything or it is not meaningful, it's just like my book is so specific, and so it has a purpose. It has a purpose for comforting people who are struggling, especially teenagers, especially girls. And I don't know, that compared to like a smutty Colleen Hoover book, like that frustrated me. And I think in that sense it's harder to query a book that doesn't have smut, that doesn't have fun characters, that doesn't have all these cute tropes like love triangles or enemies to lovers. Like, these are literal ghosts and a girl, and yeah, there's some romance, but it's not like a marketable trait in my book, if that makes sense. So that also made me discouraged and kind of was like, maybe this book I want to be more special in a sense, so maybe I will self-publish this novel. However, I love you guys so much. Sorry for the long video. Thank you so much for listening in, for being so sweet. Definitely go check out my podcast around this topic. I also kind of talked about that, which goes hand in hand with my querying vlog, which I worked really hard on. It took a lot of my soul to put it out there in the world, and I do share a lot in that vlog. So yeah, I love you guys. I wish you well in whatever place you are at in your writing career. But yeah, I love you guys, and I hope this encouraged you and maybe just shed some light on what I've been feeling and my sort of decision to, yeah, stop querying this book. But yes, I love you guys, and I hope to see you in my next writing video.